This is America. But not the America you know. This is the last glacial maximum, 22,000 years ago. And the America of this moment looked less like the United States and more like the African Serengeti. Except significantly more dangerous. The Columbian mammoth was not the woolly mammoth. It was something larger. 4 meters tall at the shoulder. 10 tons. And tusks that curved in sweeping arcs to 4 meters in length, longer than 3 adults laid head to toe. This was the largest land animal in North America since the dinosaurs. Those tusks. 4 meters of curved ivory crossing in front of the face. We have direct evidence of what they could do. In Nebraska, 2 Columbian mammoths were found locked in a permanent duel, both dead, their tusks entangled, and one of them with the other's tusk driven directly through its eye socket. The Nebraska mammoths. 2 10-ton animals who died locked together. The fossil record preserved the outcome of their last fight in exact detail. The tusks entangled. The orbital socket punctured. 2 of the largest animals on the continent, killed by each other. This was not unusual for Ice Age America. The woolly mammoth is the one everyone pictures. But it was actually the rarer species in the continental US, restricted mainly to Alaska and the northern states. Roughly the size of a modern African elephant. With tusks that showed extraordinary variation, some spiraling, some curving in opposite directions, some nearly straight. The American mastodon was not a mammoth. Not an elephant. Something different entirely, a shorter, denser, stockier animal that researchers believe could be 80% heavier than a modern elephant of the same height. A tank. It dominated the eastern forests the way the Columbian mammoth dominated the western plains. The giant bison. 2 tons of animal with horns spanning over 2 meters tip to tip. Wider than a modern NBA player is tall. More than double the horn span of the bison that exists today. This was its direct ancestor. And it is gone. America had camels. They evolved here 45 million years ago and eventually spread to Asia and Africa. During the Ice Age, camelops was still present across the Great Plains and West Coast, and nobody knows for certain whether it had a hump or not. A camel whose defining feature may have been absent. America had wild horses. At least 5 species. Including the Hagerman's horse, also called the American zebra, which had distinct stripes along its body. And possibly the largest horse that ever lived, an extinct giant with teeth larger than the biggest modern draft horses, potentially weighing 1.5 tons. We found horse teeth in Ice Age American deposits that are larger than those seen in any living horse species. The biggest draft horses alive today already weigh close to a ton. The extinct American giant outweighed most giraffes. And it is gone. Every one of them. Gone. The Ice Age American plains held a density of large animals comparable to the African Serengeti. Mammoths. Mastodons. Giant bison. American horses. Camels. Ground sloths. Giant armadillos. All of them simultaneously. All of them on the same plains where today you will find corn, soybeans, and highway. The Glyptotherium was a giant armadillo that weighed 400 kilograms, closer to a bear than to any armadillo alive today. Its entire body was encased in solid interlocking bone plate armor. It grazed on the Ice Age southern plains. It has been extinct for approximately 10,000 years. The ground sloth was the size of an Asian elephant. 4 tons. 6 meters long. But it was still, unmistakably, a sloth, a slow-moving herbivore related to the tree sloths alive today. The difference was its claws, 3 per foot, each approximately 30 centimeters long. Researchers believe they could excavate solid rock. When the Megatherium reared onto its hind legs to reach high vegetation, it stood 5 meters tall. The largest ground sloth that ever lived, doing something completely ordinary, reaching for a tree branch. And from the ground below, it would have looked like the landscape itself had decided to stand up. The American lion was 25% larger than a modern African lion, estimated at 350 kilograms. No mane. Massively developed forelimbs capable of grappling prey the size of small mammoths. Isotopic analysis shows it consistently hunted larger prey than modern big cats. And it may have lived in social prides. The American lion was the largest cat in the history of North America. Exceptional specimens reached 457 kilograms. Its name, Panthera atrox, literally translates as the cruel panther. And in Ice Age America, it was not even the largest predator. That distinction belonged to something else entirely. Smilodon fatalis. More heavily built than either a lion or a tiger despite being shorter. The forelimbs so thick they may have been capable of bearing greater loads than the American lion despite being the smaller animal. And those teeth, 28 centimeters of upper canine, designed to deliver a single catastrophic bite to soft tissue and major organs. Those teeth. 28 centimeters of ivory-white saber curving below the jaw even with the mouth closed. They were not for chewing. They were for a single, specific, devastating use. Sinking deep into the soft tissue of large prey and causing injuries so severe the animal could not recover. Killing faster than any modern big cat. The dire wolf hunted in Ice Age America the same way wolves hunt today, in packs, coordinated, relentless. But 25% heavier than a modern gray wolf. With a broader, more powerful head. A stronger bite. Possibly capable of crushing bone like a hyena. Running at night across the frozen plain toward whatever fire could not protect. The dire wolf's jaw. Broader and more powerful than any modern wolf. The bite force researchers estimate was sufficient to crack bone, placing it in a category of carnivore that does not exist in North America today. This jaw hunted the Ice Age American plains for thousands of years. Nothing equivalent to it lives there now. At the peak of the last glacial maximum, the Ice Age American plains contained three apex predators simultaneously, the American lion, the smilodon, and the short-faced bear. All three in the same ecosystem. All three competing for the same prey. No equivalent concentration of apex predators exists on Earth today. The short-faced bear was the largest predator in Ice Age America. Full stop. An adult male standing 3.4 meters on its hind legs. Nearly a ton in body mass. The American lion, itself the largest cat to ever live in North America, was smaller. Everything in this ecosystem existed in the shadow of the short-faced bear. The La Brea tar pits in Los Angeles are a natural asphalt seep that functioned as a trap for 40,000 years. Animals approached the water that pooled on top of the tar and became stuck. Then predators came for the trapped animals and also became stuck. The bones of 3.5 million individual animals have been recovered from this single location. At La Brea, researchers have found the bones of more than 4,000 Smilodon fatalis individuals and more than 1,600 dire wolves, trapped over 40,000 years. The tar preserved the entire ecosystem in exact proportion to its actual populations. It is the most complete natural archive of Ice Age American megafauna that exists. Around 16,000 years ago, the first humans crossed the Bering Land Bridge from Asia into North America. They were Paleoindians, experienced big-game hunters who had already hunted the megafauna of Asia and Siberia. And they had the Clovis point, the most advanced projectile technology on Earth at that moment. The Paleoindian hunter standing at the edge of the Ice Age American plains for the first time was looking at something that had never seen a human being before. 12 mammoths on the horizon. Giant bison in the distance. Horses grazing nearby. And none of them knew what a Clovis point was yet. The Clovis point. A bifacially worked flint approximately 12 centimeters long with a distinctive central groove called a flute running from the base. It fit onto a spear shaft so precisely that the hafted weapon could be thrown with an otlotl, a wooden lever that doubled the throwing arm's length, from 20 meters away. No prey animal in Ice Age America had evolved to deal with a projectile weapon. The Paleoindians hunted in coordinated groups. 5 hunters with Clovis-tipped spears and atlatls could separate a young mammoth from the herd and maintain positions at the correct throwing distance. The mammoth could not charge all 5 simultaneously. The hunt was tactical, coordinated, and lethal. The evidence of mammoth butchery with Clovis points has been found at multiple sites across North America. The atlatl. A simple wooden device 60 centimeters long that turns the human arm into a much longer lever. The mathematics of torque increased the throwing velocity of a 220 centimeter spear by approximately 30%. From the mammoth's perspective, a small group of animals it had never encountered before, throwing things that moved faster than it could process. We have direct evidence. Columbian mammoth remains at Clovis sites with cut marks on the bones from stone tools, indicating butchery. Horse remains at Clovis sites. Mastodon remains with embedded Clovis points. The Paleoindians hunted every large species in Ice Age America. And they did it effectively. A successful mammoth hunt attracted every predator in the area. The dire wolf pack at 150 meters. The American lion further out. Possibly the short-faced bear beyond that. And the Paleoindian hunters maintaining a fire at the butchery site, working through the night, with spears raised toward the darkness where the amber eyes gathered. 2 hunters standing at the edge of the firelight watching the Ice Age American predators gather in the darkness beyond. This was not an unusual night. This was every successful hunt night in Ice Age America. The fire held the boundary. The spears maintained it. The darkness beyond was alive with things that outweighed everything standing in the light. The short-faced bear and the Paleoindian at a river crossing. 950 kilograms of the largest predator in North America standing in the shallows. For humans with Clovis spears on the far bank. One group that evolved to dominate this landscape for millions of years, and one that arrived 16,000 years ago and immediately began competing with it. The Paleoindians built shelters from mammoth bones. The structural poles of their conical shelters were the femur and rib bones of Columbian mammoths. The walls were mammoth hide. They slept inside the bones of the animal they hunted. The largest land animal in North America became architecture within a single human generation of first contact. A Columbian mammoth femur used as a structural pole in a Paleoindian shelter. 120 centimeters long. 15 centimeters in diameter. The bone of a 10-ton animal. Now holding up a roof. The transformation from living apex herbivore to building material happened in the same generation that first encountered Clovis technology. This is what the arrival of humans meant. Around 13,000 years ago the climate began to shift. The last glacial maximum was ending. Temperatures were rising. The megasteppe, the grassland that had covered 40 to 60% more area than the Great Plains today, was contracting. The habitats that sustained the largest populations of megafauna were shrinking. The mammoths were already feeling the pressure when the Paleoindians arrived. The Smilodon was a specialist of a specific habitat, the Ice Age steppe and grassland that was disappearing as the climate warmed. As the forests advanced, the Smilodon's hunting grounds contracted. Its primary prey species declined. And then the Paleoindians arrived in the middle of this existing crisis and added their own pressure to a system already under strain. The Younger Dryas. A sudden return of cold approximately 12,900 years ago, after a period of warming. An abrupt climatic reversal that disrupted the ecosystems that the megafauna depended on, the food sources that the Paleoindians depended on, and the fragile balance between a declining megafauna and an expanding human population. The double tap that researchers now believe drove the final extinctions. By 10,000 years ago, the Columbian mammoth was gone. The American mastodon was gone. The Smilodon was gone. The American lion was gone. The short-faced bear was gone. The ground sloths were gone. The dire wolf was gone. The American horse was gone. The American camel was gone. The world's most extraordinary megafauna assemblage, erased in a geological instant. What survived? The gray wolf survived. The cougar survived. The brown and black bears survived. The modern bison, smaller than the giant bison, less spectacular, but adapted, survived and eventually thrived. The survivors were the generalists, the flexible, the adaptable, the animals that could shift diet and habitat as the world changed. The specialists did not make it. The fossil record of what was lost. A Columbian mammoth tusk fragment in the dry eroded earth of the American plains. This tusk grew on an animal that walked this exact landscape 20,000 years ago. The tusk is still here. The animal is not. The land is the same. The world above it is unrecognizable. The Nebraska interlocked mammoths. Two Columbian mammoths found locked in their final confrontation, tusks entangled, both dead, one with the other's ivory driven through its orbital socket. Preserved in the Nebraska sand hills for 20,000 years. We found them. We understood what happened. We put them in a museum. The world they came from is gone. The La Brea tar pits today, the same asphalt seeps that trapped Ice Age megafauna for 40,000 years, still slowly moving in central Los Angeles. Still producing fossils. Still bubbling methane through asphalt. The Ice Age American ecosystem preserved in tar beneath one of the largest cities in the United States. The bones of the Smilodon still there. Still being extracted. Here is what Ice Age America looked like at its peak. Columbian mammoths at the horizon. Giant bison on the plain. American horses grazing. Camelops browsing. Ground sloths at the forest edge. A Teratornis, a condor with a 3.5-meter wingspan, soaring above it all. This entire ecosystem was present simultaneously, on the same ground, 20,000 years ago. Here is what that same land looks like today. Corn. Soybeans. Highway. No mammoths. No giant bison. No American horses. No Smilodon waiting at the forest edge. The silence where 20,000 years ago there would have been the combined sound of the most extraordinary megafauna assemblage outside of Ice Age Africa. The same ground. A completely different world. The Clovis point in a modern hand. A 13,000-year-old bifacially worked flint with its distinctive central flute. Found at a mammoth kill site. This small stone object is the evidence that humans were here and the mammoths were not long after. Whether you blame the climate or the hunters or both, this object is present at the crime scene. One more time. The Last Glacial Maximum. The Megastep. The cold pale golden grassland. 12 Columbian mammoths in the background. The giant bison to the left. The horses to the right. The world at its fullest, its most extraordinary, its most alive. This place existed. This exact landscape. In the same geography where you live right now. The eye of the Columbian mammoth. Amber brown. Alert. At the peak of its species' success. Looking out across the landscape it evolved for, across the ecosystem it helped define, with no awareness of what was coming. The same quality of unknowing present in the Triceratops at the river on Impact Tuesday. The largest and most dominant species rarely see the ending coming. This is where America stands today. The same plains. The same latitude. The same flat expanse. Everything that made this place extraordinary, gone. In geological terms, it happened yesterday. In human terms, we were there. Whether we were the cause or the context or both, we were there when the world's greatest megafauna assemblage outside of Ice Age Africa disappeared. And we are still here. The Columbian mammoth tusk in the museum. 4 meters of curved ivory from a 10-ton animal. Still here. The animal that grew it, gone 10,000 years. This tusk walked the Great Plains of America. It drank from the rivers. It lived in a world so full of extraordinary life that we have spent decades excavating it and still cannot fully comprehend what it was. It is still here. America had no idea what it lost.